Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech video. This time we're going to be going over the partner commander options Krark the Thumbless and Vial Smasher the Fierce. I think everybody already knows what Vial Smasher does, so if you need a refresher, whenever you cast your first spell each turn, Vial Smasher deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to an opponent chosen at random. Krark the Thumbless is a new commander option from Commander Legends. He's a 2/2 Goblin Wizard for 2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, return that spell to its owner's hand. If you win the flip, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So this is a pretty crazy ability, especially if you pair it up with the card Krark's Thumb, which pretty much allows you to flip 2 coins instead of just 1, and you choose one of the outcomes. Meaning that if you choose heads and that's how you win the coin flip, if one of those flips is tails, but the other one is heads, you can just choose the heads and ignore the tails. So we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to find ways of getting to our Krark's Thumb so that we can then make it pretty much easy to go off and copy whatever spells we want to play. So going over the boring part of the deck, we just have your generic mana fixing. We have some cards like Bojuka Bog that can deal with graveyards. We have Buried Ruin because we don't always have the best ways of getting artifacts back. So we pay 2 mana, tap it, and sacrifice so we can get our Krark's Thumb back if it's in the graveyard. Other than that, the only other notable land is a Reliquary Tower. Now, this is a pretty big part of the deck. It's ramp. We have a couple ways of doing this. We have our typical artifact ramp, but we also have instants and sorceries that will net us a bunch of mana. If we copy them with Krark, we're going to get even more mana. We can then use that for X cost spells and have a ton of fun. So we have Dark Ritual, Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, Arcane Signet, Cabal Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Dockside Extortionist. Also really good just to give you a bunch of those treasures. Keep your turn going. Pyretic Ritual, Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Indulgence. Jeska's Will is a newer card. We add a red for each card in target opponent's hand, which is likely going to pay for itself, if not just give us even more red mana. Either way, we copy it, we get even more red mana. Seething Song and Mana Geyser is probably the big one. So if you copy this and you have an X cost burn spell, at least someone is losing the game. And we do have some ways of burning our opponents and accomplishing exactly that. We have Comet Storm, we have Electro Dominance, we have Price of Progress, a little bit riskier because you can be hurt by this. But I still think it's worth playing because even if it is bounced back to your hand, it's only 2 mana, you can play it again. We have Gutter Snipe, one of the best cards you can have in this deck because if you keep copying those rituals and you keep your turn going, you're going to be dealing 2 damage each time you cast an instant or sorcery. We have Brash Taunter, which is fantastic if you have any kind of board wipe that can deal damage to creatures, and I believe we do have a Blasphemous Act in here for removal. So if you Blasphemous Act, that's 13 damage dealt to Brash Taunter. It's indestructible, so it's not going to die, and you can deal 13 damage to a target opponent. It really is fantastic in most burn decks. We have Obosh the Prey Piercer. Our Vial Smasher is a CMC 3 creature, so whatever damage we deal with her, we can then double that. And then we have Fiery Emancipation. If a source we control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. We do have some removal here. We have Feed the Swarm to deal with creatures and enchantments if we need to. Rakdos Charm. All-around Swiss Army knife for Rakdos decks. Then we have Bedevil. These are just really good cards that if you copy them, you're just getting more and more removal. Then we have Chaos Warp and Blasphemous Act. Pretty much staple removal. And as I just showed you, we have a Brash Taunter, so if you have any kind of removal that can deal damage to creatures, the better off you're going to be. We have a few graveyard cards here, pretty much only going to serve the purpose of getting us back our Krark's Thumb. We have Goblin Welder, so we can pretty much just bring it back if we sack an artifact. Then we have Trading Post. We can sack a creature to return target artifact card from our graveyard to our hand. And then we have Beacon of Unrest, which is probably the best one because we can copy it with Krark. Easy way to get us back the Krark's Thumb, and if we copy it, we can get back something else. And then we have some copy cards just because what's better than copying with your commander? Copying with your other instants and sorceries, which you can also copy. So to do that, we have Double Cast, we have Increasing Vengeance, but we also have better ones like Reverberate, we have Bonus Round. This one is pretty crazy. Until end of turn, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, that player copies it and may choose new targets for the copy. So starting off your turn with this, in addition to your Krark, means that you're just going to get more and more copies of your rituals, you're going to get more and more copies of your burn spells, hopefully you're going to win the turn you play this. Then we have Dualcaster Mage, we have Twinning Staff, rewarding us for copying any spells we get an additional copy. Then we have a Fury Storm. This is fantastic in the deck, by the way, because we are playing partner commanders, and it doesn't just count one of your commanders, it counts both of them. So let's say you've played Vial Smasher a couple times, you've played Krark a few times, you're going to get 5 copies of Fury Storm. Just a pretty ridiculous card. We have Wild Ricochet, so you pretty much get to copy and then change the targets. We have Double Vision. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this is always nice to start off your turn with something like a Mana Geyser. You get to copy it, and then you get to copy it with Krark. Then we have Pyromancer's Goggle, gonna offer us some red mana, but it's also gonna copy red instants and sorceries. So if you again have something like a red ritual, like a Mana Geyser, you're gonna benefit off of this. We do have some draw in here. We have Risk Factor. Pretty cool to just target the same opponent if you copy this a couple times. I highly doubt they're going to take all that damage. They're just going to let you draw 3 cards. And the Jumpstart just means you can keep playing it. You can keep copying it. We have Allocate Awakening. This is another newer card. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards plus 1. This is really good when you're right in the middle of your combos, but you have like 12 cards in your hand, but you can't really do much with them. Just put them all on the bottom of your library and then get a fresh 13 cards, so you don't even have to run the risk of getting those same cards again. We have the new card Wheel of Misfortune. Copying this pretty much means that not only are you going to be dealing a lot of damage to players, but they're likely also going to be forced to chicken out at some point. Whoever chooses the lowest, they're not going to be dealt that much damage, and they're not going to discard and draw a new 7. So it rewards the players who want to take the most damage. Really interesting card, but functionally going to be similar to Wheel of Fortune. Then we have Siphon Mind, probably one of the best overall cards that you can copy. Each other player discards a card, and then you draw a card for each card discarded this way. If you have 3 opponents, that's going to be 3 cards, so if you copy it, you're going to draw 6, and each opponent's going to discard 2 cards. We do have equipment in here just to make sure that our creatures are safe. We have Lightning Greaves, and we have our coin flip cards here. We have Krark's Thumb. If you would flip a coin, instead flip 2 coins and ignore 1. So even if you lose on one of the flips, you get to keep the other one. We have Fiery Gambit. This is really the reason why we want Krark's Thumb, because Fiery Gambit is a really powerful card. And if we can copy it with Krark, not only is it going to be powerful, but we're going to get a second crack at it. If we happen to fail the first time, if we win both, that's fantastic. But if you win a flip and you stop, it deals 3 damage to target creature. If you win 2 or more flips, deals 6 damage to each opponent. And if you win 3 consecutive flips, you draw 9 cards and untap all lands you control. So you can see how doing that twice would win you the game. Probably one of the best cards in the whole deck. We have Game of Chaos, another reason why Krark's Thumb is going to be so powerful. You flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails. The loser of the flip loses 1 life. The winner of the flip gains 1 life. So I believe you flip 2 coins. If they call heads, if any of them is tails, then you choose that one and win. The winner of the flip can just keep doing this, and you double the stakes each time. So it goes from 1 to 2, to 2 to 4, to 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 64, and probably the game at that point. We have Planar Chaos. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, sacrifice Planar Chaos. Whenever a player plays a spell, that player flips a coin. If he or she loses the flip, counter that spell. Because you hopefully have Krark's Thumb out there, you will be able to get around this a lot easier. We have Puppet's Verdict. This is kind of a flip a coin board wipe. If you win the flip, destroy all creatures with power 2 or less. If you lose the flip, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. We have Boom Pile, so kind of like a Nevin Rolls disc that you have to win a flip for. We have Karplesen Minotaur with a cumulative upkeep of flip a coin, so every turn that goes by you have to flip another one. Whenever you win a coin flip, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and whenever you lose a coin flip, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player of an opponent's choice. So hopefully you win all of your flips, and you can deal more damage to your opponent's stuff. And Goblin Assassin. So hopefully you win the flip, none of your coins come up tails, and you don't have to sacrifice any creatures, your opponents will have to. Then we have Mirror March. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. So every time you do this, you hopefully just get your call right out of the 2 coins that you flip, and then you just keep getting more token copies with haste. So if this ends up being on something like Dockside Extortionist, you probably win the game at that point, because even if you just get like 3 of them, you're going to get a whole bunch of those little treasure tokens. And then we have Rakdos the Showstopper. So when it enters the battlefield, you flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp. and destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. So for all your stuff, hopefully you get to just choose a coin that says heads. Your opponent's creatures are hopefully not going to be that lucky. And we have some punishment cards in here. I think it's just nice if you get to copy these instants and sorceries. It likely means that you win the game. Profane Transfusion is a cool card because 2 target players exchange life totals. You create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token, where X is the difference between those players' life totals. So hopefully this means that your opponents have a larger life total than you do, and you just swap life totals. You could do this with other players too. So if you copy this, you're going to get another horror creature. Pretty cool, but it's obviously not going to be that devastating. We have Exsanguinate. Each opponent loses X life and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. You don't even have to put that much into X if you can copy it several times. It pretty much just means you win the game. Same thing with Torment of Hellfire. We have Cruel Entertainment. Choose target player and another target player. The first player controls the second player during the second player's next turn, and the second player controls the first player during the first player's next turn. My recommendation, after you copy this, just choose 2 players twice that are not you. So you just have your opponents control each other's turns, and hopefully they destroy each other. And then we have Worst Fears. It exiles after it resolves, so if you copy it, it's just going to be even more powerful. And we have some search spells in here because Krark's Thumb is a pretty big deal. We have Gamble, Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and Grim Tutor. Suffice it to say, if you copy something like a Demonic Tutor, you're probably going to be set up really well, because then it allows you to get something else like a Mana Geyser if you need it, or some other ritual, or you can get an X-Cost spell, or something like a Worst Fears. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for the deck tech. Let me know what you think about these partner commander options. I'm having a lot of fun with Commander Legends, and I can't wait to get my cards, because I'm just going to find even more things to fool around with once I get a better idea of how this set is going to play. But anyway, Void here signing off. You all have a wonderful day. See you all next time.